Hi guys. So we're going to talk about the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that's happening on the 12th of November, which is in about 3 days. So if you are watching this after the 12th, if you're watching this when it goes public, I actually am doing this video on Monday, and the members of the channel have early access to it, so they're getting all of this information on Monday. So if you would like to have this kind of early access to astrology reports, we also do love readings on the memberships, all of that stuff, you can click the join button underneath this video, or you can go to my Patreon and sign up there. Just wanted to let you guys know that you can get early access to these videos and get the information on time. I'm also offering a special for this. So if you would, and this is for the members as well, and the members will get 10% off of this special. So if you would like to know how this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to affect your natal chart specifically, and how to utilize the energy within the energy that you already possess, and how, because this energy, it's really already activated. It's already been activated for about a week now, and we have the activation for another week, maybe even 2 weeks. So this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn is a pretty big shift. It's happened 2 other times this year. It happened on April 5th, and it happened on June 30th. So during these moments in time where we have this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction and it's in Capricorn, so let's break it down. So we have the if you want to get the personal assessment for your Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, the information is in the description box. Just click to book a session and then scroll down and you'll find it. Within all the appointments types. Okay, so Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and Pluto is the planet of regeneration, of change, of transformation. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes type of energy. Pluto is sort of the darker side of things. Jupiter is sort of the lighter side of things. So we're getting the yin and yang type energies that are happening with this, and it's going on in Capricorn. So it's not really news that we've had these big 3 energies going on in Capricorn for quite some time. We have Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter there. Saturn is only 4 degrees away from this conjunction. So Saturn is also very much creating this energy and creating this momentum with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. And the entire idea of structures, the entire idea of belief systems, the entire idea of how we are expanding and how things need to change, because it is coming up right now. Because once we have Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius, which is going to be one of those things where there's an entire energy shift going from Capricorn to Aquarius. This is where we change the structure so that we can integrate the energy when we get into Aquarius. This is where we change the structure so that humanity, because Aquarius is about the innovation. Aquarius is about humanity. It's about the community. It's about the coming together of people, right? So once we get this energy into Aquarius, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. So this energy is expanding all of us in ways to change. Now, it's not easy to change. It's not easy to transform. It's not easy to expand. But when we bring in the energy of expansion and change, that means that we have to release some expectations. That means that we may have to come to terms with the fact that we've been holding on to things, right? Capricorn structure. We've been holding on to things for a really long time, that have been generating negative energy, and the more it's been generating negative energy, the harder it's been for us to change things, because it's like, it's sort of like when you're in a relationship and you recognize that you trigger each other, and instead of actually talking it out and having the conversation, you just start to shove everything under the rug. Sounds very much like my second marriage. So so what you do, instead of coming out, you build up this tension over time, right? And then this tension becomes really, really toxic, because you're not actually discussing the things that need to be discussed, but you are creating like this gunk, this goo, this nastiness. It's like when you eat really, really bad your entire life, and then you're surprised when the doctor tells you that you have to have your arteries flushed out. Like you have to have an angioplasty done or something like that, you know? And you can't, why are you surprised? You've been eating fried chicken for 45 years. Like, how is that surprising to you that now, right? So this Jupiter and Pluto conjunction shouldn't come as a surprise if you've been doing the work. This Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is just going to show you the places where the things that you need to change in your life, it may not be easy to make these changes. It may not be easy to create a safe space for you to even make these changes and to expand, but it's absolutely necessary. We have to do things like this for growth and for evolution. Pluto is about evolution and growth. Jupiter is about expanding that evolution and expanding that growth. Okay, so allowing yourself to be super, super aware of what the universe is trying to show you right now. And that's why I wanted to do that special offer for a personal planet or a personal natal chart assessment for how this Jupiter-Pluto will be affecting you directly. Because we can talk about how it's going to affect each of the houses all day long. But when it comes down to it, there are degrees. There are specific degrees. Like this is all happening at a 22 degree mark. And a 22 degree mark is about growth and opportunity. So let's start going through the houses. The way that I'm going to do this, and I want you to be very aware that if you have to look at the degrees of your rising sign. Because not everybody, like if you're a Capricorn rising, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be in your first house. It could be in your 12th house. If you're an Aquarius rising, it may not necessarily mean that this is happening in your 12th house, but maybe it's happening in your first house, right? If you're at an early degree or a late degree Aquarius rising, okay? So make sure you look at your chart to see where 22 degrees of Capricorn is. If you don't want to get a chart assessment, this is the easiest way to do it. Look at your chart and see where 22 degrees of Capricorn is, and that's where Jupiter and Pluto are sitting right now. And then you can see what house this is happening in. So let's get started with the first. So if you're a Capricorn rising, most likely this is happening in your first house. So this is going to be focusing on self-improvement in a really big way. This is a big time to expand yourself, expand your goals, change the way that you're approaching life, whether it's in your appearance, whether it's in the way that you actually like physically approach people. Have you found yourself, you're like being a little bit more rigid in the last couple of years because Saturn has been in your first house as well. Capricorn risings really have a huge brunt of this energy that's been going on because there's been a total overhaul for your own self-improvement and really paying attention to what it is that you need to do in order to push yourself forward and to not stay the same. Like if we're constantly evolving and constantly changing, you're not going to be the same person that you were yesterday. So really keeping that in mind, like where is your attitude changing? Where is your identity changing? Where is it that you need to shift your own perceptions so that you're not being triggered with those self-improvement wounds and you're creating your own self-improvement healing with this. Okay, so if you're an Aquarius rising, this is most likely in your 12th house. This is giving you the opportunity to create emotional stability through showing you how to connect fully to what needs to fundamentally change within your belief system. The 12th house is about the shadow side. The 12th house is about that work that we have to do that we don't necessarily show people on a regular basis. The 12th house is about those things that it's also about hidden enemies. So where are you allowing yourself to not have boundaries when it comes to your friend groups? And like, this is ultimately changing your idea of everything that's been going on within you. A lot of Aquarius risings are probably having even like spiritual awakenings during this time, or really having to reassess what it is that they fundamentally believe, right? You could have believed in Christianity and Catholicism your entire life, and 2020 came along, and now you're like, oh wow, I believe in astrology now. I believe in energy work. I believe in the tarot and all of that stuff. And I'm not just saying that for just Aquarius risings. That could have been anybody in 2020, honestly. But Aquarius risings are getting one of those really, really deep dive, like digging deep within that gut and that intuition, so that you can have a more clear path to your purpose. So you can really accept the things that are possibly the things that you don't necessarily like about yourself, but you can accept them. You can acknowledge that they exist, and then you can be like, well, how can I be a better person from that? And I think that's what this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is happening. If you've been feeling like you've been having an emotional existential crisis, this is sort of giving you a wake-up call to create a stable spiritual foundation for yourself. Because when it comes down to it, the spiritual foundation comes from within you. It doesn't come from within an ideology from the outside of you. It comes from what you're resonating with on the inside. If you're a Pisces rising, this is happening in your 11th house, most likely. So your whole idea on community and what needs to change for humanity and for the common good is coming up with this. So the 11th house is about the innovation and the coming together. This is also about long distance travel too, for some. But it's almost like this is a dramatic change in what your support system looks like. If you've been going along and believing that a lot of people are there for you, and then all of a sudden this energy shows up and tensions get worse and things get really, really difficult, and there are some really painful realizations about the boundaries that you need to have when it comes to your compadres, then this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to be kind of giving you a wake-up call on who you call friend and who you call foe. And maybe you've been calling your foes, your friends, your foes, your friend, right? If you've been, you actually have an enemy, but it's a friend and you didn't even realize that. And this energy is really bringing that to the surface. Okay. So if you're an Aries rising, this is probably happening in your 10th house. This is really changing the way people see you and your place in society. There may be a sense that you're about to do something much bigger than you believed at all possible. The Jupiter-Pluto conjunction for a 10th house person right now, if it's transiting your 10th house right now, you may have this instinct, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're an Aries rising, you're cardinal energy and you like to own your own businesses anyways. But this may be changing the way that you do business. Like if you're already a business owner and you just want to expand that business in a lot of ways, this energy is giving you that push to move forward and expand your business and really see how the process, the regeneration process and expanding your business is also expanding your own identity, your own sense of self. And because the 10th house is very public, right? This is very much how we like put ourselves out there and the way that other people kind of see us in a public setting. So this whole, it's almost like for some of you, I would even say that there's like a whole identity change. This is very similar to a first house kind of energy, a Capricorn rising first house kind of energy, where your whole identity, like maybe even your physical appearance changes because you need to put yourself out there in a different kind of way that's more professional, or you want to put yourself out there in a different kind of way that's a little bit more eccentric, you know, like whatever it is. It could be a total flip of your identity and the way that you approach people and the way that you put yourself out there. This could be a good time for you to start a business, but you really need to make sure, with Saturn being so close, you really need to make sure, and this is really true for everybody, but you really need to make sure that you are paying attention to all of the tiny details within all of it and allowing yourself to see all those details within it. Okay, so if you're a Taurus rising, this is probably happening in your 9th house. You may feel, you may have felt, especially with the Saturn and Pluto being there, that you've been in a spiritual or kind of an existence sort of rut. You could be really full of doubt for the road ahead. And with Jupiter conjuncting with Pluto, Jupiter's right at home in the 9th house. Jupiter actually is the natural ruler of the 9th house. So it's almost that like Jupiter with this Pluto conjunction is like shining the path on the spiritual side of the, you know, like you could really be having some super, super deep thoughts right now, some really philosophical thoughts, even some philosophical conversations. You may even want to start thinking about traveling. I know that travel restrictions are still kind of a thing right now. But if you're a Taurus rising and this, you know, that you may be getting some ideas like, wow, I really need to get my passport in order. I really need to do this. I really need to do that. But also you just like want to gather the information. There's a lot of stuff that's shifting and changing within your psyche right now. And when you sort of allow yourself to expand within that, and it could be, again, that like for your whole life, you were thinking that you were, you know, you really believed in one type of religion or one type of belief system. And this whole year has been a complete flip and a complete change from that. Jupiter is going to be bringing you some ideas to some new ideas to the bigger picture for you. And this is going to start shifting more into positive outcomes. Okay. So Gemini rising, this would be in your 8th house. The 8th house is about change and transformation. Mars is the natural ruler of the 8th house, but astrologers also say that Pluto is a ruler of the 8th house as well. So this transit is really helping remind you to ask for assistance when it comes to help. So the 8th house, yes, it's about change and transformation. It's about the phoenix rising from the ashes, but it's also about shared resources. There's a lot of stuff when it comes to taxes in the 8th house. So if there's a big shift in energy for, you know, you really being able to ask other people for assistance and not feel like you always have to be doing everything yourself, that's going to be a really big thing for you this year. Reminding you it's okay to create a space to help regenerate who you inherently are. If finances have been difficult for you this year, this may be a change in your finances. If finances have been okay, but you've recently sort of been questioning, like, where's the next way that I go, and like, what are my finances going to look like? This energy may either put like a really big heavy weight on it, or it can open up a lot of doors to other outcomes for you. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at how this is going to be affecting your energy personally. In a lot of ways, this is really about putting yourself out there so that you can gain the assistance of other people, because it's really hard sometimes to ask for assistance, especially since Saturn has been sitting in your 8th house. You know, there's that blockage when it comes to regeneration, and you know, and it's a lot of times we just needed a support system to be able to help us regenerate and move forward. Woo! Okay, so the 7th house, if you're a Cancer rising, this energy is happening in this conjunction is happening in your 7th house. You may find that difficult, troubled relationships are coming to an end. You may recognize that the tensions are beginning to build, or they have been building for some time, and this is sort of a tipping off point. If you're in a healthy relationship, this could actually bring the healthy relationship to the next level. If you're in a toxic relationship, this could actually bring that relationship to the next level too, where you think it might be a positive move, but down the road, you're going to be learning a pretty tough lesson with it if you aren't honest with yourself. This is about really being honest with yourself in relationships and making sure that you're doing it the right way. Saturn is not going to let us fuck it up, right? Like, Saturn is going to say, now, if you want to be in this relationship, there are some things that need to be fixed, and the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to show you where things need to change in order to turn a toxic relationship into a positive relationship. That is absolutely possible, but both people have to be on board, right? So Jupiter is going to expand the energy of what needs to change in the relationship in order to get both of you on board to heal. If both of you don't want to get on board to heal, this energy is going to be like, nope, there's no use saving it. We got to go. We got to step off, right? So you're going to have to let that resonate within your life and within your relationship. Try not to force relationships during this time. The more you're trying to force that relationship, the worse off it's going to be to get rid of it down the long run, like in the long run, right? Because that Saturn energy is really putting some karma on some relationships. And now remember, karma is not either good nor bad. It can be perceived as good or bad, but you can like definitely grow some good karma within relationships if you wanted to, or you can just add to karma, negative karma within relationships as well. Okay, so Leo, if you're a Leo rising, this is going on in your 6th house, most likely. So you may be feeling as if you're a little bit overworked and underpaid during this time with that Saturn energy in your 6th house, and this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction could come along, and it might be a good time to ask for a raise. It might be a good time for you to work on your resume so that you can like put the energy out there, because that's really what it is. It's about manifesting with this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, where you just kind of shift your energy and you start moving it in a direction that you want to go in. So if you want a new job, start working on your resume, get your resume out there, get yourself seen. Right now is a really good time to get yourself seen. You may recognize that there's this overwhelming feeling that you need to get organized. There's this overwhelming feeling that you need to start a new health routine. You may really recognize within yourself that you don't like some old patterns that you have been trying to quit. Like if you have really bad habits, like if you're a smoker or something like that, you may find this time really easy for you to quit smoking. So this is really kind of just changing your day-to-day activities. So whatever it is, if you need to get organized, if you need to change your health, if you need to find a new job, if you feel like you're kind of like getting the short end of the stick when it comes to working at your job, this is a perfect opportunity for you to be able to shift some things and change. Again, not easy, but it will be worth it in the long run. Virgo rising. This is for 5th house energy. So the things that you're really truly passionate for, Virgo rising, this is a time in your life to get a boost on that passion. The 5th house is also about like the passionate sex, not really necessarily the long-term relationships, but the really fast, passionate sexual relationships. So be very careful during this time frame about meeting new people, especially because we are, like, I'm not trying to put fear into anybody, but you know, there is a pandemic going on, and I know for a lot of people that the virus doesn't really affect them as much as it does some other people. But we really don't know who it affects worse or why it affects some people worse than it affects other people. And so don't get yourself into a situation where you meet somebody online because you have this connection, right? Which is really actually just a whole bunch of hormones and pheromones that are going back and forth in a chemical reaction between the two of you. Neither here nor there. But if that is if that is something that you're thinking about doing, just be very, very careful, because this can change everything for you. You could end up meeting somebody that's there to just basically teach you a lesson about things, especially with Saturn being here in the fifth house for you. So this is also a time to let the old stale situations of life fall off and allow yourself to see some things in a much brighter way, in a much more confident and passionate kind of way. And if there's not a lot of confidence and there's not a lot of passion going on in your life right now, and there's not a lot of creative stuff going on in your life right now, then maybe it's time to start thinking about ways to bring creativeness in, or ways to bring that kind of passion or push forward, you know, like that kind of like, I really want to do this now kind of energy into your life. So this could be a really good time to build up some plans to create something really, really fruitful for you. Okay. So we have Libra in the 4th house. This would be my rising sign. So fellow Libra risings, hello. So Libra risings, and I know that we have been feeling this kind of energy all year long, but with Libra risings, this is all about the change and the expansion of your home. For some Libra risings, this may be that you're going to have to move, or you're getting some ideas on where to move. Might not be the easiest move for you to do, but really paying attention to how it's being created in your life, and how the plans are folding or like laying out for you can create really, really good long-term results for you. This is also about your family. It's also about stability. A lot of Libra risings could actually be getting engaged during this time. Some Libra risings could even be thinking about buying a new house. If we're right outside of Mercury retrograde, it's okay to sign all the contracts and get that going. But this is really a time for you to pay attention to where you're stable. Pay attention to your family life. Pay attention to the things that really need to shift and change, so that you are present within the home, so that you are present within that stable family life, and not just kind of like flitting and floating along. Because Libra risings, we tend to do that sometimes. Scorpio risings, this is going on in your 3rd house. So this is a lot of things that are coming up with the 3rd house is about communication. The 3rd house also really talks about siblings, and it talks about short distance travel. This could also mean a move for Scorpio risings as well. But this is how we are presenting our own communication skills to other people. Like, how are we able to be transparent? And if you're a Scorpio rising, like, I know that you Scorpio risings with that 3rd house energy, with all of this, that is, man, you guys are very investigative. Like, you see every single tiny detail. How are you communicating that with other people? Are you being transparent about what you're seeing, or are you brushing it under the rug? If you have been recognizing some things that really do need to change, that anticipation, that anxiety of change is going to keep building until you spill your guts, until you kind of come clean with it and you say, this is what I'm seeing, and this is how I'm seeing things need to adjust and seeing things move. You may see a really big difference, a really big change when it comes to your siblings, or when it comes to other family members, and how they are reacting to you, or how they're just communicating with you. But also, if you feel like you want to travel right now, it might be a good time to start planning that, to start planning those travel plans. Okay. So then we have Sagittarius in the 2nd house. Well, so this Sagittarius rising, this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is happening in your 2nd house. And having Saturn there in your 2nd house, Saturn has sort of been restricting your finances for the last 3 years. And once it moves into Aquarius, it's not going to be so restrictive. But this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is almost showing you ways to change that financial gap, to change that financial blockage, and feel like you can expand upon it a little bit more than where you were in the past. This is also, because the 2nd house isn't just about finances and material possessions. A lot of it is, but it's also about your sense of value and how you see others and the value that you put into others. So this could be changing a lot of things that you recognize the value that you have for yourself, or if you haven't really been paying attention to your own needs and you haven't really been committing yourself to your own value system, and this may be like really bringing it to your attention and recognizing that you can't anymore make the excuse that you just don't have time. I see you, Sagittarius. I see you, Sagittarius rising, saying that you don't have time to take care of your own needs. That is crap. Trust me, you do have plenty of time to take care of your own needs. And when you finally commit to yourself to be able to do that, you'll be amazed at how the doors start opening for you. So let this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction allow you to shift that energy in a way that is creating open doors for new finances, for new material opportunities, maybe even a new job could be coming out of this. A new career could be coming out of this for you, because the old career is just exhausting and you're sort of fed up with it. A lot of things can really happen for you, Sagittarius. I know that the Saturn curse just won't go away from you guys. So I get it. I see you. I feel you. I did forget to say, so now that we're all the way done with the whole zodiac, I did forget to say that if you want to rewatch this for your sun sign as well, I am going to put all of the timestamps in a comment, not just the description box, but the comment. But if you would like to get the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction personal natal chart for yourself, you can do that. The information, just go to book a session underneath here. And for the members of the channel, I will have the member code when I post this video on the memberships for Patreon and the memberships for YouTube. I love you guys. I hope you have a really good week. This is not going to be an easy transit. It just isn't going to be. None of them are. But it doesn't have to be hell. It doesn't have to be the worst thing that we've ever been through. You just have to allow the energy to flow within you and allow yourself to say, okay, I'm not going to hold myself down. I'm going to keep pushing forward. This is something that we do really, really well out here in the astrology world. I love you guys. Have a wonderful week. Mwah. Bye.